It was really my parents who made the biggest impact on my professional career. They're the ones who brought me up with certain values, and in growing up I learned that it was important for everyone, the poor and everyone else, to have the same access to justice. And that's why I went into the career that I did as a legal aid attorney and ultimately as the executive director of Coast to Coast Legal Aid of South Florida. I started with legal aid service at Broward County back in 1982, and from 1982 until 2004, I represented senior citizens, primarily in the areas of elderly health, but also relating to housing issues, eviction issues, consumer issues, and benefit issues. When I moved to Florida, I moved from New York to Florida in 1979, and at that time my parents were elderly. They had just retired, and so I learned something from them about the elder community and some of the legal problems that they had, and that's one of the reasons that I was drawn to a career representing senior citizens. When I first came down to Florida, I was looking for something to do on a temporary basis while I looked for my dream job. Back in the 1970s, in the late 1970s, employment agencies were a big thing, and I went to an employment agency to try and find a temporary position. In the interim, the employment counselor that I spoke with essentially told me that she could probably find me a job as a receptionist in a law firm. I had just gotten my Florida bar license at that time. I would tell myself to be bold and courageous and not be afraid or let anything hold me back. I believe that early on in my career I was intimidated by judges primarily, but I learned over the years that judges are people, and that I would do my best by just talking to them and not being afraid to represent my client and express the positions that I needed to express. I hope I'm a role model. I had the opportunity, and it was a great honor for me, to be the executive director of Coast to Coast Legal Aid of South Florida. I was in that position for 15 years until this past December. So I think from that point of view, it's a unique opportunity for someone to lead a legal aid organization, especially for a woman, and I think that from that perspective, I hope that I would be a role model for other women in the legal and broader community. I think it's an honor for me, as someone who has worked in a legal aid setting, to be recognized for the achievement that for my achievements. And I think it's really important for somebody in public interest to also have that recognition.